Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ.
Now, the problem is complicated because we have four kinds of people. The people who aren't saved and know that they aren't saved. People who aren't saved and don't know that they aren't saved. People who are saved and know that they're saved. And people who are unsaved who know that they are saved. That's where the problem comes in, because you have all kinds of people who have an assurance of salvation illegitimately, because they don't understand what salvation requires. Very practical ways I've talked to people who struggle with this question. I ask them, do you love Jesus, the biblical Jesus? Do you love the biblical Jesus perfectly? I've only heard two people in my life who have answered that question in the affirmative to me, who would say, yes, they love him perfectly. That's for the perfectionist problem. That's another story. But the vast majority of professing Christians will answer that question. No, they know I don't love Jesus perfectly. I know I don't love Jesus perfectly. And then they'll say, well, I will say to them, well, do you love him as much as you ought to love him? Well, if they answer the first question no, they've got to answer the second question no, because I ought to love him perfectly. And so if I say I don't love him perfectly, then I know I don't love him as much as I ought to love him. So now the spiral seems to tend to be more and more pessimistic. Then I ask this question: do you love him at all? Do you know in your heart whether you have any genuine affection for the biblical Jesus? And there's where your theology comes home to roost. If I can say, yes, I know that I don't love him the way I should love him, that I don't love him perfectly, but I know in whom I have believed, I know that I have some real affection for Christ in my heart and in my soul. Then if my theology is sound, then I ask the question, how could that possibly be? Because I know an unregenerate person has no affection for Jesus and can't possibly have any affection for Jesus. So if I have any affection for Jesus, that tells me I'm regenerate. And if I'm regenerate, I have true faith. And if I have true faith, I'm numbered among the elect and can have a full assurance. That's why, Peter talks about that we should make our election and calling sure, that it's a very practical issue, because if we don't have the assurance of salvation that we should have and can have, we're tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. We're unstable, we're inconsistent, we're duck soup for the temptations of the enemy who comes our way.